Hello everyone, you are back on another reaction video here by Bonarescu TV. Today we are going to be reacting to a video called Romania's Chernobyl. I'm really interested to see what's happening, why they're saying Romania's Chernobyl, and why I've never heard of this in my life. Let's get started.
This is Baia in northern Romania.
I've never
and
been
beneath
here.
These hills...
First off, I want to say I've never been to Baia, but I really want to go. It looks so beautiful. The churches look incredible.
Gold. For centuries, miners dug, blasted, and drained these mountains. Today, though, the mines have been abandoned, and this soil is toxic. 25 years ago, something went wrong, which triggered one of Europe's worst environmental disasters, poisoning multiple countries. Baia is Romania's Chernobyl, but unlike Chernobyl, people
I did not know that.
And the disaster...
This smokestack right there, that's like one of the most iconic, it's probably the tallest building in Romania, if I had to guess. But like one of the most iconic buildings just because of how tall it is.
Faded from memory, but the danger didn't. So what is really going on here? To answer this question, I had to go there, to see the old mines, to speak with people who lived through it, because depending on who you ask, the story changes. So Mac, Vlad and I drove up from Cluj-Napoca, and this is what we found. There's so much agriculture here. You see wildlife everywhere. And then in the middle you have the city with its beautiful old town, its long Soviet boulevards. But surrounding that you have these swaths of wasteland and abandoned buildings. An abandoned structure that is taller than the Eiffel Tower. Okay.
It's taller than the Eiffel Tower? That's crazy, man. Look at him going inside of it.
And you have all these rivers that are streaming through the city that, if you take a closer look at them, they don't look good. If we zoom out, you'll see the Sasa River cutting straight through Baia before spilling west into the Lăpuș. For centuries, these rivers fed the city's growth. Now they pose a huge threat. For 600 years, Baia was one of the richest mining hubs in the region, but it was after the Second World War that things really took off.
Down below are millions of tons of recoverable ore. Waste rock and dirt had to be removed before the ore can be mined.
Under communism, these states scaled up industrial extraction. They brought in thousands of workers, rolled in heavy machinery, and ramped production into overdrive. In the 1960s, chemicals started to be used to extract gold faster. The most efficient method is cyanide leaching. Essentially, crushed rock gets mixed with the cyanide solution, it dissolves the gold, and leaves the rest behind. From speaking with experts, I found out that even today it's the most common way of extracting gold. But cyanide is highly toxic and needs to be handled properly. This new method leads to huge amounts of gold being extracted, like never before. But there's a catch. The process leaves behind a toxic cocktail of waste, something that miners call tailings. It's a slurry of cyanide, heavy metals, crushed rock, and chemicals. With no easy way to dispose of it, companies pump this sludge into these massive artificial ponds. It's standard practice, it's cheap and efficient. But each pond is extremely toxic, and in Maramureș County alone, there's reportedly over 200 of them.
I was going to say, I've never seen anything like this in Romania. I've seen stuff like this in America. But that's crazy. There's 200 in Maramureș. Oh, that sucks.
When communism falls in 1989, Romania has mined 180 tons of gold. It's worth billions, and a large share comes from this region. But 4 decades of unregulated mining have left Baia among the most polluted cities in the country. The World Health Organization labels it an environmental hotspot. What they're basically saying is it's a place so polluted it poses a serious risk to human health. The Sasa is so contaminated, locals now call it the Dead River.
What?
It's now 1993. Democracy has arrived in Romania. Most of the accessible gold is gone, and the mines are no longer profitable. Tests find dangerously high levels of lead in the soil, air, and water. Some children have 6 times the safe limit of lead in their blood. People living near the mines suffer from chronic respiratory disease, and life expectancy here is 12 years below the national average. So This is not good, and the state decides to build a chimney to carry the toxic fumes away from the city.
And I may have gotten this wrong. I always thought that was a smokestack, but I guess doing the same thing, carrying the smoke or the, bad stuff away from the city and up and higher into the air and dispersing it out. Wow.
It's by far the tallest structure in Romania, standing at 351.5 meters. But it doesn't work.
Oh.
The fumes travel further and return as acid rain, falling back over Baia-Mare. By 1999, the industry is really in decline. The mine here just manages to survive thanks to its size, but the equipment is outdated, and the tailing ponds that are full of toxic waste are poorly maintained. But in May of that year, everything is about to change. A foreign company takes over the mine. They promise to bring the safest, most efficient technology available, and they're going to lead Romania into the next gold rush. What's about to unfold in Baia-Mare is only known to us because of the international reporting at the time. I spoke with a journalist who was on the ground trying to gather the facts because, as you'll see, the Romanian state had an interest in hiding the truth. The company can help Baia-Mare move into a new era of prosperity. That was the pitch from Esmeralda Exploration Limited to the Romanian government. This Australian company had found a way to use the latest technology to recover leftover gold from these old tailing sites.
So in a joint venture with the Romanian state, they formed Aurol SA. Aurol is set to recover around 1.6 tons of gold.
Oh.
It is meant to create...
I accidentally muted it. But before he goes on, I want to say this company came in I think he said 2002. I've never heard of them. So I don't... I'm just foreshadowing before he says something. I don't think they did as good as they thought they would.
Thousands of much-needed jobs.
But this joint venture will quickly become the worst mining decision in the country's history. It's late in the evening on January 30th, 2000. It's a cold winter's night in Baia-Mare. For 5 weeks, the temperature hasn't risen above freezing. Aurol have been operating for 7 months, extracting gold and silver from old tailings, and piping the leftover waste to a new pond, 6.5 kilometers outside the city. The pond is built using an Australian method unusual for Romania, where the dam gradually rises over time as more waste piles up. Over the past month, 70 centimeters of snow has built up across Baia-Mare, but for the past 3 days the temperature has risen above freezing, and 40 millimeters of rain has fallen on the dam. The snow melts fast. There's no proper overflow system, so the pressure builds and overwhelms the dam. At 10 PM, a 25-meter section of the dam gives way, releasing 100,000 cubic meters of cyanide waste into the nearby river. By 10:30 PM, Aurol alerts the Environmental Protection Agency in Baia-Mare of an incident, but cyanide continues to flow into the river, spilling into the Sasar at a rate of 40 to 50 liters per second. Workers at Aurol are scrambling to seal the breach. They pour in sodium hypochlorite to neutralize the cyanide, buying time until they can fully seal the dam. By sunrise on January 31st, the spill has reached the Lăpuș and Somes River, and is now making its way towards Hungary. This is quickly becoming a nightmare for Romania. Zooming out, you can see how these rivers...
You guys can't see, but my legs are bouncing right now. I'm starting to get jittery just thinking about this.
Through villages and towns, feeding crops, filling taps, and stocking market stalls. But the worst is yet to come, because these rivers flow into the Tisa, and the Tisa feeds into the Danube. It's Europe's second longest river. It winds through 10 countries and sustains millions of people. If this isn't contained soon, it won't just be Romania's problem. It'll be an international catastrophe in a matter of days. But at this point, no one else has any idea of what's coming. Eventually, at 3 p.m, 17 hours after the breach, Romanian authorities warn the Hungarians. Meanwhile, workers at Arul keep fighting to contain the spill. And finally, at 1:30 a.m. on February 1st, the breach is sealed. But it's too late, and Arul's worst fears have come to fruition. Cyanide is now in the river at the Romanian-Hungarian border. Tests detect concentrations as high as 32.6 milligrams per litre. The World Health Organization states that drinking water should have no more than 0.05 milligrams of cyanide per litre. A dose of just half a milligram can be lethal. The river was testing 650 times the safe limit. By February 3rd, dead fish are turning up in a town 65 miles northwest of Baia Authorities downplay the damage, but across the border, Hungarians are beginning to realize just how bad it is. Arul is also minimizing the situation.
You get dead fish caused by when rainfall happens, and it can be due to sediment in the water.
At this stage, we don't see any conclusive evidence that it's due to cyanide.
On February 4th, cyanide-laced water reaches the Tisza River in Hungary. Over the next 10 days, the cyanide keeps flowing, killing aquatic life for hundreds of kilometers. It eventually reaches the Danube, and traces are detected in Yugoslavia.
Yugoslavia has banned the sale of most freshwater fish.
19 days after the breach, cyanide is detected 2,000 kilometers downstream. Along these rivers at the Hungarian-Romanian border, everything is dead. The international media is calling it Europe's worst environmental disaster since Chernobyl. And so the United Nations launches an investigation, dispatching a team of experts. They collect samples, run tests, and trace the spill's path through the river system. Cyanide they find washes away fairly quickly, but the heavy metals don't. Arsenic, lead, and cadmium cling to the riverbeds, poisoning them at dangerously high levels. Wells near Baia are also contaminated.
I know, and this is probably like older way of thinking. This was in the early 2000s when this happened. But I know when I was going to Romania, everyone told me, don't drink the water, don't eat the fish. Don't drink the water out of just like the wells near the river. And it all makes sense now. I had no idea why. But the rivers were contaminated and fish were dying and probably people were getting poisoning. Like, that's crazy to me to think about. Just wild. I had always heard, don't eat the fish are bad, the fish aren't good in Romania. And I was just like, I'm sure they taste fine. But I didn't because everybody told me not to, or else you'll get sick, and now it makes sense why.
Thousands of tons of fish are lost. Ecosystems are shattered, and some may take a decade to recover. But for the people living along these rivers, everything's changed overnight. The story quickly fades from international headlines, but the narrative in Romania became diluted. Blame shifted, facts blurred, and no one seemed to agree what really happened. And the damage this disaster left behind, it's still up in the air. I didn't think Baia would have a desert. We've met up with Ewan Budd, a mining and environmental expert, and he's brought us here to show us this geographical oddity on the outskirts of Baia. I'm trying to get an answer whether this is toxic or not, like if we can put our bags down.
I hope it's not. We've been here a while.
Okay, so basically this dust is toxic for us if we breathe it.
Right. This is what's left of Baia two largest tailing ponds. The one that ruptured is just visible to us in the distance. Aurel shut down the mine in 2006, but what actually happened here? And what were the ramifications? That's what I'm here to find out today. In the years since the spill, Baiamare's population has slowly declined. Opportunities here are limited, and for many, the mine is still the story that defines this place.
Vi se părea că era bine în perioada aceea cu minele?
Foarte bine, nu bine, foarte bine. S-au avut oamenii locuri de muncă și acum nu greu, foarte bine.
I guess if I had to describe this place in one word, it would be unsettling. Life seems to have moved on here. But
I mean, it looks so beautiful. Like, it's kind of perched up in the mountains right there a little bit, in the hills. Like, it just looks like a beautiful city. This is so sad to see that something like this happened.
Yet you have all these sites across town that have just been left. And we've unknowingly been walking on this toxic desert on the outskirts of town.
Basically, nobody tells us exactly what are we breathing around that lake.
Un mineral numit silice cristalină care generează așa numita boală silicoză și acum s-a dovedit că este și cancerigen.
Cancerous dust. That's what's left of the ore that they mined. And it's just sitting here, out of the way, but still accessible. There's no warning signs, no fences, nothing.
What's always strange to me was that whenever I would go to the villages nearby, when they were like, aren't you afraid to breathe in this dust that the wind blows from the sea? No, actually we're fortunate in this area. The wind blows on the other side, not towards our village. But this was the story from like every village all around the lake.
This is Tudor Bratistan, a founding member of Mining Watch Romania. He told me the cyanide is long gone, but like the UN found along the riverbeds, it's the other heavy metals that are a long-term issue.
If you were to take the health data from the hospitals, I'm pretty sure that you would observe lung diseases, cancer, that's going to have a much bigger incidence in those areas than in other.
If anyone is watching from Baiamare, or like the Baiamare area, let me know if like, because I would love to know, is like lung cancer or any sort of cancer like really relevant in like your family, in your area or whatever, right? Like I would love to know that, because that is so interesting and like really sad. But obviously it can be contributed to something if it's like at a higher rate in Baiamare. That would be a really cool study.
Other parts of the country.
Today, the skies above Baiamare are clear. The days of pollution and acid rain feel long gone. It's November 6th, 2024, our last day here. I wake up early to check the results of the...
Look how beautiful that scene is. The churches look beautiful, the city looks beautiful right up in the hills, in the mountains. Like, Baiamare looks like a beautiful city. This is sad this had to happen there.
Our last day here. I wake up early to check the results of the US presidential election. It's still ongoing. I step out into the crisp, cold morning to watch the city come alive.
It's beautiful.
The air feels clean. You can tell we're in the mountains. It's calm here. I grab a coffee and watch people heading to work. Life moves slowly here. It's relaxing. The historical events unfolding in the US now feel like a world away. It's nice. There's a local market that's waking up. Mac and Vlad join me and we start speaking to locals. We eventually ask them if they have any concerns about what happened here. They all tell us something similar, that the environmental concerns faded with the mine. They seem unaware, or at least unfazed by what still sits around the tailing ponds and sites scattered around town. And I get it. Life changed after the mines shut down. But if you're paying attention, you can see how the lasting effects have been quietly swept under the rug. In the years after the spill, many in Romania believe the fish didn't die from the cyanide, but from chemicals that Hungarians used to neutralize it.
That's what the news.
That's so sad, because Hungarians and Romanians always kind of have this clash, but like I would almost promise you it wasn't the Hungarians trying to do this. I always stand on the Romanian side. But I would guess it comes from the mine, just from my understanding.
Newspapers in Romania said, that's what the TVs in Romania said, and that's what many people in Romania ended up believing.
The effects on the Romanian rivers were minimal, so the government's line was basically that, hey, look, this was an isolated accident, it's not our fault, and there's nothing to worry about.
But there's also another side of Romania that knows how chemistry works in general. It's like, no. Like, that was cyanide, it spilled, it killed all the fish.
Yeah.
It was downstream in Hungary where the worst devastation was felt. Over 600 kilometers, 1,240 tons of fish were killed. Irrigation supplies were contaminated, restaurants stopped serving fish, local fishing industries collapsed, and farmers lost sales as their crops were feared polluted.
Romania reportedly paid $100 million in damage to Hungary.
Meanwhile, their Australian partners declared bankruptcy 2 months after the spill and walked away without paying a cent.
And the locals who were affected, they received nothing.
The company should be held liable, at least for something. That is so dumb.
Not to leave things so grim, nature has this wonderful capacity of covering things back if it's left. Little by little, you see vegetation creating back a layer that keeps the dust settled.
This spill drew international attention to the risks of cyanide-based extraction. The UN concluded that this failure could have been foreseen. The European Union changed its laws, making mining companies more responsible for preventing accidents, handling toxic chemicals like cyanide safely, and covering the cost of environmental damage. Romania then joined the EU in 2007. On paper, it looked like progress. But officials with ties to the mining industry still called the spill a one-off, an exception, a mistake that they'd never repeat. But they were lying, because it had happened before, and there were plans in place for it to happen again. So in part...
Whoa, that said Roșia Montania, which is like the red mountains. Like the beautiful... Munții Roșii, like the beautiful red mountains in Romania. I didn't know it was happening there.
2, I will show you how after everything you've just seen, Romania struck a deal with a Canadian company to gut a historic town, all to dig out the wealth that is buried beneath these mountains. This deal sparked the biggest uprising the country has seen in a generation. And to understand what's at stake and where this story begins, we're heading to the village of Jamina.
Oh, I have heard of this. This is the most like notable place. Okay, this will be interesting. There's like 20 seconds left.
Now buried 90 meters beneath a lake of toxic waste.
Isn't that crazy? Oh man. So sad that like a place like Jamuna would like be lost in time under waste. You know, that's sad. To all the people of Baia Mare, like, sorry that this had to happen to you. That sucks. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, I remember being a missionary, and like we have missionaries in certain cities where there are members of our church, and we didn't have any members in Baia Mare. But I wanted to go to Baia Mare to like try to convert people so that I could go be in Baia Mare, because Baia Mare looks so cool. It looks like such a special place tucked in the mountains. So I'm sorry that this is like had to happen to you, and hopefully because of like your sacrifices, the next generation will be better. And maybe one day, I know I did a reaction video on Europe's stolen forests, and that will come out after this video. But I hope one day that I can come back and make a change in Romania. Maybe that's coming back and planting trees around that desert that's in Baia Mare, that dust desert that's nasty and gross and kicks up a lot of stuff. Who knows what it will be? But maybe one day you can make a difference in Romania too. So thank you guys for watching. Every time you watch a video, it helps grow my channel. It helps me try to get back to Romania so I can film Romania cities. And then with that, I want to come back and give back to the Romanian people. So thank you guys so much. This was a reaction video. I'm glad you guys watched. I will add the link down below to the original video just in case you ever want to watch it without me sitting down in this corner. But I love you guys. Have a good one. Peace.